Beneath the rolling hills of North Yorkshire, about 1.6 kilometers underground, lies what will become Europe's deepest mine. We are talking about a massive engineering project that has already broken world records. A project that saw a tunnel boring machine named Stella-Rose drilling non-stop for over 5 years, creating the longest single TBM-driven tunnel in history. This is the Woodsmith Polyhalite Mine, Britain's largest private infrastructure project, and its story is one of ambition, crisis, resurrection, and uncertainty. This is the story of how a startup mining company attempted to build a £9 billion fertilizer mine in a protected national park, how it nearly collapsed, and how one of the world's largest mining companies stepped in to save it, only to put the entire project on life support just 4 years later. Let's explore how Britain built the deepest mine and the longest tunnel drive in the world. This is the story of the Woodsmith Mine. The story of Woodsmith begins 260 million years ago, when an ancient sea called the Zechstein covered much of northern Europe. As this sea evaporated over millions of years, it left behind massive deposits of minerals, including a rare substance called polyhalite. Polyhalite is an evaporite mineral with a complex chemical formula containing 4 essential plant nutrients. These are potassium, sulfur, magnesium, and calcium. While the mineral was first described in Austria in 1818, the massive commercial deposits beneath North Yorkshire went unnoticed for over a century. It wasn't until the 1930s, during oil and gas exploration, that boreholes revealed the presence of potash deposits beneath the Yorkshire countryside. As a result, various mining proposals were submitted, first in 1971, then in 1978, but none came to fruition. The mineral sat undisturbed, 1.5 kilometers beneath the surface, waiting. In 2003, a company called Sirius Minerals was founded. Initially focused on potash exploration in North Dakota, the company abandoned that venture in February 2012 and turned its attention to the United Kingdom. In 2010, operating as York Potash Limited, the company acquired geological data and mineral rights to what would become one of the most significant mineral deposits in the world. Interestingly, they found an extraordinary deposit of approximately 2 billion tons of polyhalite, with proven and probable ore reserves of 280 million tons. The mineral seam was 70 meters thick, extending across 25,200 hectares. It wasn't just big, it was the world's largest and highest grade polyhalite deposit. Sirius Minerals came up with a brilliant plan to extract 20 million tons of this natural fertilizer every year for a century, processing it into a product called Poly4, which is a multi-nutrient fertilizer suitable even for organic farming. Although the planning seemed perfect, Sirius Minerals still had just one problem to deal with. You see, the best location for the mine was near the hamlet of Sneatonthorpe, approximately 2 miles south of Whitby, right in the heart of the North York Moors National Park, one of England's most protected landscapes. But mining in a national park is, understandably, controversial, and will quickly raise environmental groups' immediate concerns. As a result, it was nearly impossible for such an industrial operation to be permitted in a protected area designed to preserve natural beauty. Sirius Minerals understood the challenge and came up with a radical solution to make the entire operation invisible. Rather than building a conventional mine with a large surface infrastructure, processing facilities, and heavy vehicle traffic, Sirius proposed something unprecedented. The mine would be almost entirely underground, with each of its 2 main shafts plunging 1.6 kilometers into the earth and having its headframes constructed below ground level. Surface buildings would be designed to resemble agricultural barns with wood cladding. And most importantly, there would be no trucks. Instead, the extracted polyhalite would be transported 37 kilometers to a processing facility on Teesside through an underground tunnel. The mineral would travel on the longest conveyor belt system in the United Kingdom, arriving at the Wilton International Complex, where it would be processed, packaged, and shipped globally via the River Tees. The original proposal included a slurry pipeline, but this was withdrawn in 2013 when Sirius re-examined the environmental impact. When plans were resubmitted in 2014, the underground conveyor system became the centerpiece of the design. At the same time, it became an engineering challenge, requiring boring through 37 kilometers of rock beneath the Yorkshire countryside. Notwithstanding, It was an elegant solution to an impossible problem. Build one of the world's deepest mines, but make it disappear. After years of studies, revisions, and public consultations, the North York Moors National Park Authority granted planning approval in June 2015. Hence, the Woodsmith Mine could proceed. With planning permission secured, Sirius Minerals accelerated its plans and gave the project its official name in February 2017. Apparently, the project was called Woodsmith Mine in honor of Peter Woods and Dr. Frederick Smith, the original geologist whose work had helped identify the deposit. That same month, preparatory work began. Filter lanes were added to the A171 road, and the site near Sneatonthorpe, a former beef farm called Dove's Nest, was cleared and prepared. A few months later, the company was listed on the main London Stock Exchange market, raising capital from thousands of retail investors who believed in the vision. At its peak, the company was valued at more than $2.3 billion. In May 2017, construction officially started, with CEO Chris Fraser leading the charge, and production targeted for late 2021. The plan was to develop the project in 2 stages. Stage 1 would involve sinking the 2 main shafts and boring the tunnel. Stage 2 would complete the mine infrastructure and processing facility. The original estimate for Stage 2 was £3 billion, but as engineering studies progressed and tunnel specifications changed from 4.3 meters to 4.9 meters in diameter, the figure was revised to £3.6 billion. The total project value eventually rose to approximately £9 billion, making it the largest private infrastructure project in the United Kingdom. But why go to all this trouble for a fertilizer? Apparently, polyhalite, marketed as POLY4 by Sirius, represented something unique in the agricultural market. Unlike synthetic fertilizers that require energy-intensive chemical processing, Poly4 needed only to be extracted, crushed, and granulated. It provided 4 essential nutrients in one product, had low chloride content, and was suitable for organic farming. The production process had a remarkably low carbon footprint, with virtually no waste. Sirius conducted agronomic studies across 40 countries and 80 different crops, eventually processing over 1,500 studies and running more than 2,000 commercial-scale demonstrations. The company signed distribution agreements across the Americas, Southeast Asia, and Brazil, engaging over 350 distributors, retailers, and manufacturers. In September 2018, Sirius signed a 7-year deal to supply 2.5 million tons per year to Brazil alone. Furthermore, they secured the United States market through exclusive distribution with ADM, Archer Daniels Midland. With the surface infrastructure construction progressing, Sirius had to commence tunneling work underground. Hence, a 225-meter-long, 1,800-ton tunnel boring machine, manufactured by the German company Herrenknecht, arrived at T-Sport in February 2019. The machine was named Stella-Rose by 8-year-old Warren Walls from Ings Farm Primary School in Redcar. Stella-Rose was a single-shield TBM equipped with a hard rock cutter head, designed to operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The machine would bore from the Wilton International Complex on Teesside, carving a 4.9-meter diameter tunnel through the Redcar Mudstone Formation toward the mine site 37 kilometers away. And in April 2019, Stella-Rose began her journey. Interestingly, the Austrian construction company Strabag, which had previously worked on the 35-mile Gotthard-based tunnel, served as the tunneling contractor, delivering an engineering masterclass. The machine averaged 19 meters per day, advancing relentlessly through the ancient mudstone. Behind Stella-Rose, over 150,000 concrete segments were installed, each 1.5 meters long, manufactured on-site at a purpose-built factory at the Wilton complex. When the machine's progress exceeded expectations, an additional 3,000 segments had to be imported. By December 2023, Stella-Rose had completed 25.8 kilometers of the tunnel, breaking the world record for the longest single TBM-driven tunnel. Barely a year later, Stella-Rose passed the 30-kilometer mark, still extending the world record with every meter. When complete, the Woodsmith Tunnel will surpass even the Northern Line on the London Underground, which has held the title of Britain's longest tunnel since 1937 at 17 miles. But while Stella-Rose was breaking records underground, Sirius Minerals was facing a catastrophe on the surface. In September 2019, Just 5 months after the tunnel boring machine started its journey, Sirius Minerals postponed a crucial £400 million junk bond sale, which cast significant doubt on the future of its Woodsmith Polyhalite Mine project in North Yorkshire. This saw the company plummet from its $2.3 billion valuation about 16 months earlier to the brink of collapse. The company announced talks with potential investors to raise $600 million for the first phase of the project, but confidence was evaporating. On January 7, 2020, Sirius shares were trading at just 4.1 pence, a rate considered to be almost worthless. The mine site near Whitby had more than 2,000 workers. The tunnel was progressing. Billions had already been invested. But without funding for Stage 2, the entire project was doomed. Then, on January 20th, 2020, an announcement arrived that would change everything. Anglo American plc, one of the world's largest mining companies, made a recommended cash acquisition offer for Sirius Minerals. They offered 5.5 pence per share, valuing the company at £405 million, $527 million. For shareholders who had watched their investments evaporate, the offer represented a premium of 34.1% above the closing price and 46.5% above the volume-weighted average since the strategic review began. But for those who had invested when the company was worth billions, it was devastating. Turned out, Anglo American plc wasn't just a random buyer. The company had a deep history with polyhalite. It had co-owned and later fully owned the Bulby Mine, located near Woodsmith and also in North Yorkshire. Now, Anglo American was re-entering that market by acquiring the world's most ambitious polyhalite project. In March 2020, Sirius shareholders gathered to vote on the acquisition. The meeting was fractious, with security guards present due to credible threats against directors. Shareholders called the board stupid and the takeover a bloody disgrace. As some said, they would have preferred bankruptcy to giving their shares away for cheap. The vote narrowly approved the deal. Afterward, the court sanctioned the acquisition scheme on March 13, 2020. About 4 days later, Anglo American took control of the Woodsmith Mine, and Sirius Minerals, the startup that had dared to dream of building Britain's deepest mine, ceased to exist. Following the takeover, Anglo American immediately committed to keeping the project alive. The company invested an estimated £230 million to continue construction through 2022, spending approximately £800 million per year up to 2027 as the project advanced. Tom McCulley replaced Chris Fraser as CEO of the Crop Nutrients Division. Andrew Johnson became Woodsmith Project Director. Anglo American conducted a comprehensive technical review and redesign of the project. In December 2021, Anglo upgraded the project scope and revised the completion date from its original 2021 to 2027. While Stella-Rose continued her underground marathon, work began on the mine's 2 main shafts near Steedenthorpe. These would be no ordinary shafts. At 1.6 kilometers underground, they would become the deepest commercial mine shafts in Britain and, when complete, the deepest mine in Europe. The contractor, Redpath Dialman, employed an innovative blind bore shaft sinking method using a shaft boring road header. This approach reduced carbon emissions by approximately 60% compared to traditional methods. The system incorporated the world's first semi-autonomous partial drill and blast process, with robotic arms enabling remote drilling. The shafts would descend through multiple geological formations, but the most challenging was the Sherwood sandstone layer, encountered between 250 and 300 meters depth. This hard sandstone, with a compressive strength of 120 megapascals, reduced sinking rates from 1 meter per day to just 0.5 to 0.75 meters per day. Anglo-American engineers used polycrystalline diamond picks to extend the lifespan of cutting tools, whereas diaphragm walls were installed to 45 meters below ground level to support the large shaft infrastructure. Progress was methodical, and by June 2024, the production shaft had reached 712 meters in depth, while the service shaft advanced more slowly but steadily. As construction continued, Anglo American Ltd focused on commercializing Poly 4. The company conducted 3,500 agronomic studies and ran over 2,000 commercial-scale demonstrations globally. In 2024, they secured deals with major Chinese distributors, including Sinochem Fertilizer and Beifeng AMP. Agreements were finalized for the supply of 1.5 million tons per year across the Americas, 750,000 tons per year in Southeast Asia, and the existing 2.5 million tons per year to Brazil. Eventually, POLY4 was certified as organic in over 30 regions, including California. The product was gaining traction in a fertilizer market dominated by synthetic alternatives. Everything seemed to be going according to plan, until a dramatic change occurred in May 2024. BHP Group, an Australian multinational mining company, made a £34 billion takeover bid for Anglo American Ltd. It was one of the largest proposed mining mergers in history, but got rejected by Anglo American almost instantly. The attempted takeover forced Anglo American to reconsider its strategy. In order to fend off BHP and satisfy shareholders concerned about the company's diversification, Anglo announced a new plan: slash costs, slim the portfolio, and focus on core assets. Woodsmith became collateral damage. Also in May 2024, Anglo American announced that it would slow the development of the Woodsmith Mine. The production shaft, which had reached 712 meters in depth, was paused. Capital investment for 2025 was reduced to £160 million, and the projected completion date was pushed from 2027 to 2030. The impact was immediate and devastating. In June 2024, the first wave of job losses was announced, approximately 100 positions. But this was only the beginning. The Woodsmith Mine had been an economic lifeline for Northeast England, a region with the lowest employment rate in the UK, at 69% in March 2024. At its peak, the project employed approximately 2,000 people, with 75% drawn from the local workforce. These weren't low-paying seasonal hospitality jobs. These were skilled, well-compensated positions in engineering, construction, and project management. In November 2024, another 450 job losses were announced. By mid-December, the Scarborough Resolution House office and the Wilton site office closed. And by January 2025, total job losses reached approximately 800 people, including contractors and subcontractors. Roughly 170 North Yorkshire council residents lost their jobs. Anglo American's own workforce was reduced by 50% to approximately 160 people. In July 2024, Anglo American reported a $672 million loss, compared to a $1.26 billion profit the previous year. The company took a $1.6 billion impairment charge for the Woodsmith project. The mine that was supposed to generate over £100 billion for the UK economy over 50 years was now an uncertainty on the balance sheet. The message was clear: Anglo American could not or would not fund the project alone. As of January 2025, work continues at the Woodsmith Mine, but at a drastically reduced pace. Stella-Rose continues her relentless journey, now having exceeded 30 kilometers and extending the world record with every meter. The service shaft has passed the halfway mark, reaching 800 meters of its 1,600-meter target depth. The production shaft remains paused at 712 meters. Approximately 1,100 people remain employed on the project, down from the peak of 2,000. The work that continues focuses on completing the tunnel, advancing the service shaft, and conducting the optimization studies Anglo American requires before committing further capital. The completion date is now 2030, 9 years later than originally planned. But even that date comes with caveats. And perhaps most importantly, Anglo American must decide whether Woodsmith fits its long-term strategy, or if the project will be sold, spun off, or abandoned entirely. Whatever happens to the Woodsmith Mine, it has already achieved something remarkable. The project has demonstrated that deep mining in environmentally sensitive areas can be accomplished with minimal surface impact. It has created thousands of jobs, injected hundreds of millions of pounds into the Northeast England economy, and proven that British engineering and construction can compete with the best in the world. The talent beneath the North York moors is real. The shafts descending into the earth are real. The 2 billion tons of polyhalite are real. The question is not whether the Woodsmith Mine can be built. The question is whether it will be. Deep beneath the Yorkshire countryside, Stella-Rose continues to advance, meter by meter, day by day, carving a tunnel toward an uncertain destination. The machine does not know about financial markets, corporate strategies, or investor returns. It only knows how to move forward. Perhaps there is a lesson in that. This has been the story of the Woodsmith Polyhalite Mine, Britain's deepest mine, the world's longest tunnel drive, and one of the most ambitious infrastructure projects in UK history. Whether it becomes a triumph of engineering and sustainability, or a cautionary tale of ambition exceeding economics, remains to be written.